Well, hello everyone. This is Bob Gumbs with the Concerned Forum. And I hope that you are enjoying your Saturday. And remember, the truth does matter. I'm kind of bummed out today. As a matter of fact, in the era of Trump, be frank about it, it's pretty damn hard for any sane person to avoid getting bummed out every now and then. I think it's sad that a country that has been through so much and on a number of occasions has fought for the things that really matter in the world, to allow itself to be turned upside down by a very miserly, sick, bigoted, ignorant person such as Donald Trump. I think it's a damn shame. You know, we're not going up against a Napoleon or a Julius Caesar. We're going up against an idiot. And see, that's one of the things that should really bother decent, sane people. This guy Trump is an ass. And anybody in the tri-state area knows that, Republican or Democrat. And the fact that he has educated, intelligent people. Now, I'm not saying where they're good people or bad, but people like Cruz, people like Hawley, they are a couple of Republicans in the Congress. They're not, they might be morons, but they're not stupid people. They're vicious and petty, but they're not stupid people. I mean, you know, he has some Rhodes Scholars on his bandwagon. And I think, because it will be over sooner or later, for better or worse, this whole Trump crap will eventually be gone someday. And I think what's going to happen, we're going to have to talk to our Ivy League institutions. And we need to ask them, you know, hey, what kind of people are you putting out there for the society? See, that's the thing about Americans that I find so different from Western Europeans and Chinese, for that matter. And that is that you do something. Whether you like it or not, you are doing it for the good of the society as a whole. Now, I know, yeah, you know, you're going to Wall Street to make money, blah, blah, blah. I get that. But it affects the society that we live in. And I think that that's one of the problems that, especially people on the conservative side, they don't understand, or they have forgotten this concept of society. Most of the people in this country do not live in caves off somewhere by themselves. If you want to do that, you should live in Alaska. But for the most part, what we do affects other people. I tell you something else too. This will probably upset some people. You know, you decide to have kids, right? That's not just your picnic. Because the things that you expose that kid to in your home, it will help to determine whether this kid grows up to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an axe murderer, or maybe both. Okay? And see, I think that what needs to happen in this country, and I know it's not going to be popular when I say this, but it's right. We need to start trying to Europeanize American society while we still have one. And as a matter of fact, I think at this present state of affairs, I would hope that Western Europe starts to put some distance between America and the rest and themselves. Now, they're already doing that in Central Europe, in Nordic countries, Spain, Italy, the whole kit and caboodle. Ireland, Scotland, and now finally the Brits are finally getting the message that America, I think what it is, our sickness has caught up with us. Our greed, our racism, right? The crazy pace that we live our lives, all this, it's our lack of respect for education, and God knows our lack of respect for the health care and the mental health care of our society. All this we have been basically stinging on for the last 25, well, 30, 35 years. And it's caught up with us. It truly has. After the 60s, the Republican Party, slowly but surely, felt that they could build an empire, a political empire based upon race. Excuse me, based upon culture, I should say. And how did they do that? Well, they did that by continually lying to their constituents. You see, those folks that, those criminals, and that's what they are. You try to overthrow my government, you try to stop me from having the right to vote, you're a criminal, okay? And they were programmed into that. You know, it's a funny thing. If you remember on the 6th, you didn't see a bunch of people with holes in their jeans. I mean, I know now you can buy your clothes with holes in them. I'm not talking about those type of folks. I'm talking about you did not see hungry masses of people, okay, suffering. No, you didn't see that. Actually, what you saw a lot of confused, you saw a lot of wealthy people, believe it or not. Oh, well, you're going to take the red-eye jet from somewhere on the West Coast to get into D.C. so that you can kick in Pelosi's door and sit in her chair? Listen, you do all that, you ain't hungry, okay? And you ain't homeless, to be frank about it. But these are the people that the Republican Party has been grooming, or I should say a certain part of the Republican Party has been grooming. And all it took was a Donald Trump to come along and basically use the hatred that the Republican Party have been storing up since the late 70s, and it's been unleashed in America. I don't ever want some clown to come around me, USA, USA. What the hell does that mean? You're trying to stop people from having the right to vote. You're telling a woman what she can and cannot do, right, with her body. you got health care in this country, in parts of this country, that you would be better off going to Zimbabwe to get for your medical treatment, especially if you're a woman. So, I mean, are you hardly as smart as a fifth grader? And most of those folks I see out there at those Trump rallies, they damn sure weren't as smart as I was when I was in the fifth grade. And I'm sorry if that sounds like I'm being big-headed about it, but it's true, see? So with all that going against you, what in the hell are you jumping up and down talking about USA, USA? I mean, what the hell does that mean? And to show you how sick people are, or I should say a certain segment of the population is, you have people, oh, well, the Biden and the Democrats were trying to get X amount, 100,000, X amount of thousand people to get vaccinated, and they fell short. Yeah, we're sticking it to the libs. Hey, man, that means that a bunch of people have died and will continue to die because they didn't get the vaccine. But you and your crew feel that that's something to cheer about. And my God, I don't know where in the hell, it's like the unleashing of pure ignorance across the country. I mean, the things I've heard, oh, they don't have a right to give me a vaccine. Yeah, they do have a right for you to get vaccinated. Yes. I don't know what planet you've been on, okay? But that's been about over 100 years now. You think that, let me ask you something. The Constitution talks about our government being there to protect our liberty, protect our freedom, you know, and also this little thing that these fools keep leaving out. They're there to protect our lives. And I guess you're telling me that your freedom, the right for you to walk around and infect everybody else, that's perfectly fine. Now, I know that you've got some problems with folks in Europe, right? And I got some pretty good suspicions about that. And to tell you the truth, this whole thing from January 6th and the whole Trump mania thing, just like with Brexit, this has been in the oven for a while, okay? Let me be careful here. When I start talking slow, that's when I'm trying to be careful. I don't think as fast as Donald Trump, so forgive me. But as some of you may know, who know me well, and I've said it quite a bit here on this program, I spent most of my adult life in the Navy. And, well, I can't say that. I should say in the Army. I don't like to talk about the Army too much because I went in at a very bad time. I mean, I was very fortunate to get out of the Army with a whole skin. You know, people were burning ships and there were race riots all over the world because of crap like this, that racial thing. But, you know, I got my discharge and came home, started going to college, and after a few years, I decided to go back in the military, only I went in the Navy, thank God. And I was fortunate. I spent half my naval career with a group called the Defense Intelligence Agency. And this is where, what's his face, that guy Bannon, where he comes in, who I suspect was a disgraced naval officer quite frankly, I think people like him are ashamed. He took an oath, which obviously doesn't mean a damn thing to him. But anyway, apparently for the last few decades, people like him have been going overseas, Italy, Germany, and basically what they've been trying to do, and it looks like they're doing it, they're trying to revive the Third Reich. They're trying to revive the whole Nazi movement thing. And I tell you, I think that that's where you get the energy for trying to keep up with my time here. 14:40. This is where you kind of keep up with what's going on. See, we have business left over from the Nuremberg trials when we put the Nazi criminals on trial for genocide, what have you. Well, you got to remember, you have a lot of Nazis right here in the United States. You had, back in the 30s, they used to attack Jews and attack synagogues, just like some right-wing terrorists are doing now. And people forget, we forget all that. And that's the danger of being too forgetful, because you kind of, you lose your place, all right, in the novel when you're trying to read the novel. That guy that Bannon was hanging with, kind of tight with Hungary. Well, you got to remember, places like Hungary, and unfortunately Poland, and Eastern Europe, they supplied more of the guards for the concentration camps than Germany itself supplied. So let's bear that in mind. And let's look at why he was president. God, that's a nasty taste in the mouth when you say that, Trump and president. But look at who he was tight with. The only countries Trump was tight with were the dictatorships. So none of this should really come as any surprise. But unfortunately, a lot of Americans do not read, and they are very poorly informed. And you also have a segment of the public that thinks that, well, if we let Trump or people like him take over our government, we won't have to put up with blacks, smart-ass Asians, and non-Cuban Hispanics. See, they'll go with the Cubans because of the fact they like that anti-communist rhetoric. But if the Cubans knew what I knew, they wouldn't be flip-flopping for the damn Republican Party there in Florida. But see, that's the problem. You divide people, and you keep dividing them. And I asked the same question I have been asking. Why is it America's strongest country, supposedly, in history, written history, but yet we don't have an educational base, we don't have a healthcare system, we don't even have a decent railroad in this country anymore? Why is that? And why is it that since the 70s, it seems the Republicans only want to cut taxes and give that cut to corporations and especially to wealthy people? But the Democrats always want to build something. Well, what happens when you build something? People go to work. What happens when people go to work? They earn an income. And see, this is the problem, that our industry and our businesses have in this country. Because see, they like the people who run a lot of these corporations, they would like to swing conservative. But by the same token, they're starting to realize that the Republican policies do not put money in their pocket. See? You can only cut taxes so much. And in the meantime, what do people do? The lower our quality of life is, the less people spend. So see, that's the conundrum, I believe, that the corporate world has. You know, if you want to be so conservative, don't expect money. You know, people in this country. And I tell you quite frankly, to a certain extent, a segment, because I'm not going to blame all of corporate America, but there's a large section of corporate America, as far as I'm concerned, they betrayed everything this country stands for. And I'll tell you something. You have a situation now, for example, in Florida and in Texas. Now, what's his name? DeSantis down there in Florida, he wants to be a Mussolini follower, or a Mussolini copycat. You know, he wants his own private army paid with state funds. And you know, I tell you, quite frankly, the people in Florida had better wake the hell up, because you got two places. You got Florida and you got Texas. And quite frankly, you are insane if you move to either one. And I know you have a lot of good Democrats in Texas. Well, my advice to you is you need to go out there and talk to your neighbors. Quite seriously. Because once you have people coming into your state, you're going to have the same urban problems that everyone else has. And if you think that you're going to sit up there on your conservative throne and just ignore problems, buddy, that's not going to work. Now, I have some things to say to the Democratic Party as well, and I'm a registered Democrat. And I'm even seriously looking at running for office next year myself. But the present caliber, the way that the Democrats have been acting, well, like I say, Democrats, we're the ones that like to build things, okay? But when it comes to fighting, we used to have fighting Democrats. These Democrats nowadays, they don't fight. They want to run into a little dark room somewhere and basically sit around the table, which I thought that we had gotten away from. Look, you know what's right and what's wrong. You go out there, you speak the truth. You win, fine. If you don't win, still fine, because at least people will respect you for wanting to go out there and fight for the right things. And see, that's the problem that we have with the Democrats now. Listen, Trump should be behind bars, okay? And no, I'm not a lawyer. Yes, I took pre-law my freshman and sophomore years in college, but no, I'm not a lawyer. And from what I have been seeing these last 5 years, I don't think I've missed anything. I'm sorry. That might sound insulting. But as I said, Trump should be in jail. There's no way in hell that he should not be in jail. You cannot commit crimes. You cannot go on nationwide TV, worldwide TV, and boast about your crimes and not be marched to the clink. And that's what the Democratic Party has allowed to happen. Same thing with quite a few other examples. Oh, and that's another thing, by the way. Why aren't we in court? Okay, why isn't the Democratic Party and the rest of America in court against the Republican Party? And I'll tell you why. This business about stopping people of color from voting. Now you have a law. You have a law in the. It's there. It's in the Constitution. It's called the Ku Klux Klan Act. You have a criminal conspiracy on the part of the Republican Party to prevent black and Hispanic people from voting. They've even admitted it in various parts of the country. Why does the Democratic Party allow them to get away with that? See, this is the problem, okay? We take, in this country, we like to say, oh, well, that's just politics. And we call things politics when they're really not politics. World War II wasn't politics. It was about survival. The Cold War wasn't about politics. I was taught when I was in the military during the Cold War, this is about our survival as a nation. Well, this is what we're going through now, because an attempt to overthrow our form of government has just happened this year. I don't see any of the bigwigs behind bars as of yet. And see, this is the problem that people have with the Democratic Party. They have these wonderful ideas, but it's, it practically takes an earthquake for them to, to get out there and fight for those damned ideas. Now, they have done more to help the American people than the Republicans have ever dreamed about doing, right? Show you. See, this is why I can't help but laugh at people, especially working class people. I'm talking about people making less than 150 grand a year, right? Who talk about, yeah, well, I vote Republican. Does that give you a feeling like you're a part of a club? Folks, America as a nation will not get straight and will not be on the right path until white working class people stop the Republicans from making chumps out of them. Okay? Yeah, I said it. And it needs to be said. That is the problem with America today. Because as long as this nation is not unified, as long as you have people in this nation that they're so confused. You're telling me stand with the Constitution, but on the other hand, you want a dictatorship. And I'll tell you frankly, if you want Trump or that idiot, the governor of Florida, to have your dictatorship, you are in sad shape. You really need to look in the mirror, quite frankly. And as a woman, please don't tell me about how much you love your daughters and all this other good crap. Because forcing a woman to carry something to term, right, in a pregnancy, that is so insane. Because there's all types of reasons. the guys who are trying to make these laws, I'm really curious what kind of woman they're married to. You know, because there's all types of reasons why women might not be able to carry to term. That is a medical question. That is a medical issue. And we should have never allowed people in this country to turn this into a political issue. That is wrong. Ladies, if you want to have 100 kids, more power to you. But neither me or anyone else should tell you when you can't or cannot have carry a baby to term. Who's more important, the fetus or the woman? That's what I'm trying to understand. Are you now going? Are we going to allow the Supreme Court to legislate when life begins? You got some clowns. They want to talk about, hey, you're a person at conception. Okay, so that means that do they get tax breaks then? My wife is pregnant. I want a tax break. Is that what you're saying? Or your job, like especially working for the federal government or the state government. Some parts they pay the thing where when I was stationed in D.C., I made money. I made a certain amount, as opposed to say when I was stationed in Mississippi, right? Because of the cost of living. So that means that if my wife is pregnant, then I should automatically get an adjustment, right? Because she's pregnant. You see, this is what happens when you allow everybody outside of the woman's immediate circle to get involved. We need to make sure, number one, make sure women have decent health care in this country, which they don't. And people really need to keep their heads out of women's vaginas unless they're invited. I'm sorry, but I think that's only fair. You know, I don't come to your house and tell you what to do. And see, it's a funny thing because these are the same people that don't wish to do a damn thing to help families. And let's look at something else too. This business about CRT. Now, you know, I will tell you, I have never been all that crazy about school boards. I don't think, you don't really have, I didn't see any of that when I was over there. You don't really have that in advanced countries, only like here in the United States. And I tell you quite frankly, it's a disaster. Education should be handled by professional educators. That's what they do. Or the next time you have to have somebody do heart surgery for you or someone in your family, don't worry about it. No sweat. We'll get the car mechanic to take a look at it, you know, and cut in your old ticker there. Get the point? See, this is what has happened in this country. Between World War II and, I don't know, late 70s, we were fairly going in the right direction. Unfortunately, and this is the thing about progressive people, I hold us to blame too. We don't stay on top of things, to be quite frank about it. What happened to our space program? Something that could have done great things in terms of helping to boost our economy. What happened to that? Oh, well, the Republicans let it fall through the cracks, just like they do of everything else that doesn't concern corporations. And yeah, corporations did work with the space program. Funny thing though, they really don't get involved with that now. Why is there no money in space? Well, that's another story. But getting back to that thing about the school board, what the hell does someone telling me on the school board that I don't have a right to have my history taught? And when I say my history, let's be careful there. Because it's not just my history, it's American history. So I don't think, I'll take the day off, but, all this nonsense with 4th of July and all this other crap, why should we do that? Is it my history worth celebrating? Americans, some Americans, I won't say all, we have this problem that we don't like history because it embarrasses us. As soon as someone comes out of their mouth saying, oh, well, they're anti-American, they're un-American. Now, what the hell is un-American American history? I want somebody to explain that. I want someone to intelligently sit down and explain what the hell is un-American American history. Is it the fact that things that you hear that you don't like? And I'd like to meet this little, 5-year-old girl or 6-year-old girl that was crying because somebody called her a racist? Well, my question, my point to that is this. Did she just give her little friend all black juicy fruits or something? Did she call her a dirty name? Because if none of those things would happen, then where in the hell did this whole business about, oh, well, CRT hurt my child's feelings? In the first place, nobody is teaching CRT, the 5th graders. Obviously, or the 3rd graders, or the 5-year-olds. This is some of the crap we've been forced to hear. Look, the problem is that America has a terrible history. A terrible history when it comes to how we have dealt with human beings. And that's something that we need to look at. If there's any residual damage, clean it up and move forward. But you just don't run away and just, well, we'll stick it on the shelf in the past and forget about it. No, you don't do that. This is like covering why would you cover a wound with a dirty bandage? That's essentially what you're trying to do. And I honestly think that some of these states that are stupid enough to have some school board tell them that, no, well, CRT is bad. Okay, why is it bad? Because it says that the judiciary and law enforcement are basically racist against black folks and dark Hispanic folks, and it's been like that from almost the beginning, at least on the eastern part of the United States. Okay, somebody make me a liar. We've just finished a trial, a couple of trials, where white men And these white men were part of law enforcement. I think one was a former investigator for the county prosecutor, and the other one was a police officer. And they had no compunction whatsoever of killing black men. And this has happened again and again and again. And if you think my statistics are exaggerated, check out the FBI. Check out Homeland Security. They keep these stats. The people in charge who run these institutions, they know what I'm saying is true. We still have a very bad time in terms of law enforcement and people of color. I mean, you have to be blind not to see that, or willfully blind not to see that. And this business about, what you don't want your kid to know. Well, hey, maybe you didn't like algebra when you were in school. Tough. Your child is not in school to learn the things that you like. Your child is in school to be educated. And educated means that you learn things, some good and some not good, some that will make you happy. Should we stop teaching about the Holocaust? Should we tell Jewish children, hey, we're not going to talk about World War II anymore. We're not going to talk about the things that resulted during World War II anymore. Are you going to tell Native American children, hey, we're not interested in the Sand Creek Massacre. We're not interested in Chivington's massacre. We're not interested in Wounded Knee. Is that what you want to tell them? You want to tell the Italians, hey, guess what? We don't want to talk about in New Orleans when they had a field day lynching Italians because they said they were all gangsters in the turn of the last century. So we're not going to talk about that. And of course, you want the Japanese Americans to forget all about being in that in those concentration camps. So I'm just curious, what the hell do you want to teach those kids? And please don't tell me just reading and writing, because there's a whole lot of things to education besides reading and writing and arithmetic. And please don't start with me, because everybody knows damn well reading and writing and arithmetic are extremely important. But if your kid and your grandkid, and even you yourself, we are in competition, worldwide competition. And we have to know what the hell is going on in the world. Look at China. We're about a few feet away from a knuckle sandwich between us and China. But why is that? Why do nations react the way they do? Why do people act the way they do? Why do some Americans feel that they have the right to talk about who's American? I can walk into a joint in some parts of this country right now. I can walk to a spot in West Virginia or in upstate New York, and everybody turn around and look at me like I'm the other. But that's funny, because I know my mama's people have been here since the 1690s. Yeah, black folks been in the eastern part of what we come to know as the United States since the 1690s. But if you're asking who's been in America the longest, well, guess what, Jose? We've been here since the 1510? Actually, 1492. Because I understand that there were blacks with Columbus. Why? Why is that? Why should that sound strange? You had black people in Portugal and Spain. Spain was ruled for over 800 years by the Moors out of Africa. You had all kinds of people in the. Remember, the Mediterranean world also touched Africa. And when the Spanish first came over here, the conquistadors, them and the Portuguese, 1492, they were in Africa, what, 1310, 1312? So, hey, man, a lot of you, you racists, man, you are really behind the times. I'm not going to take, let me see. I'm not going to take too much time talking about who the hell basically in the beginning built the damn country. But the next time you pass by Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's house, knock on the door and say hi. Because it was my folks that built that. I mean that literally. I had ancestors that worked on Monticello, okay? My family, my mom's people came right out of right out of Central Virginia, right out there, Henrico County. And a lot of her folks, ancestors, built Monticello. It's just, it's just a matter of fact, quite frankly. So this business about trying to make somebody other, and as far as the Caribbean is concerned, that's America too. Now, you can shake your head up and down, or, no. Oh, yeah, it is. If you don't think the Caribbean is American and our sphere of influence, try being a foreign nation and sticking some atomic missiles, some nuclear missiles, all right? In Grenada or St. Kitts or St. Thomas or Cuba. Yeah. So this business about somebody being an other, it's kind of stupid when you sit down and think about it. It's just like this whole thing about, the Mexicans are coming across the border. No. America came across the border. You stole the land from Mexico. That's right, S-T-E-A-L. Steal. That's what you did. Hey, don't get mad at me. What was that guy's name? He was a congressman at the time. Oh, God. He went on to do a few other little things after he made that statement. I believe his name was Abraham Lincoln. This is what really bugs me about people in this country. Some people, never generalize. I work real hard at trying not to generalize because I would be just as dumb as the people who I'm talking about. I would be dumb enough to be on Fox Network. But this is what I'm talking about. This brainwash, this non-information, that is what is destroying this country. Not just the lack of honesty, the lack of truth, but just basic, common sense. It's raining outside, get an umbrella. That kind of basic common sense. Everybody's entitled to opinions. But up until the late 70s, in America, we basically try to do our opinion with fact. And that doesn't seem to happen anymore, right? The Republican Party has become a bat cave for every religious nut that has an axe to grind. That's not the Republican Party I grew up in. Yeah, I grew up in the Republican Party. I know people get tired of hearing it. I don't really give a damn because it needs to be said. I grew up in the Republican family. My old man was a district leader in Harlem. And there was a whole lot of, not like now, where every so often, well, maybe I can get a check if I hang out with the right wingers, and you got another black, I call him Black Sambo, popping in on Fox, okay? But no, back then it wasn't like that. You had tough, strong Americans of African descent and Hispanic descent, and they were Republicans. And they didn't put up any bullshit from any stupid rednecks. Sorry, but that's the way it was. Until the Republicans decided to co-opt the rednecks and the KKK types. And redneck, by the way, you know how the term redneck comes? It's not so much a racial term. Down south, where you have the working class white poor out there, you know, working in the sun, they had a thing about, you know, getting sunburned, and that neck was red. And yes, black folks do get sunburned too. But that's what the term redneck come from. Okay? In case anybody wants to jump out of their skivvies and what have you. But yeah, that's the kind of Republicans. You had people like Ed Brooks, senator from Massachusetts. That used to freak me out. But yeah, in the 60s and 70s, you had a black man, a Republican, representing the state of Massachusetts. And he was, you know, he was a cool dude. I mean, I'm not gonna, you know, but unfortunately, the Republicans, they always, unfortunately, they always let their guard down for the crackpots. And once those crackpots come in, there goes the ball game. And especially, like I say, in the late 60s, going into the 70s, you know, Pat Buchanan kept whispering in Nixon's ear. And because, you know, Nixon got the award. This was back in like 54. He got the award, I think it was from Life magazine or Look magazine, Civil Rights Champion. Yeah. And I will tell you something. If he had went on ahead and did like his advisor at that time told him to, get on the phone and call Coretta Scott King. You know, during the 60 election, those bastards in Alabama locked up King. He was demonstrating, peaceful demonstration. They locked him up, threw him in the back of a police van, and we thought they were going to kill him. And Jack Kennedy was basically asked to do something about it, and he played like he was angry. Look, I don't want to touch the civil rights thing. You civil rights guys in the campaign, just stay the hell away from me. But he got to thinking that night, well, who were those sons of bitches in Alabama that say that a man, an American citizen, doesn't have the right to picket or to protest? So he I don't know, he went somewhere, from what I understand, comes back, and Bobby was there, his brother, and said, oh, so you're still staying away from the civil rights folks, huh? And he said, well, not exactly. I called Coretta Scott. And Bobby was like, what? Yeah. But it helped. And if Nixon had just done that, right? I think it might have been a different world. Seriously. Well, Nixon was always a son of a bitch. Okay. But he still had that much of decency in him. Remember, he was the party's choice. He was never Eisenhower's favorite, right? So you got to remember something. Conservatives in the Republican Party they were looked upon as a nuisance after 1930, what? I say after 36, okay? But that's what happened. And the forces, look, if you're a woman who wants to live in the modern era, okay? If you are somebody that can read and understand basically what you're reading, if you want to see people educated and have a future, right? If you believe that workers have a right to a decent paying salary, and if you believe that America, like every other Western nation, should have a national health care, some kind of national health care system. If you believe in any of those things, there's no reason in hell why you should ever vote Republican. At least not with this present party. Now, if you're about hate, right? You're about hate. If you feel that wealthy people are somehow better than the rest of us, and therefore they are entitled to more, if you believe that kind of stuff, then yeah, you definitely belong in the Republican Party. If you believe in that it's okay to lie to the American people about reasons that have nothing to do with national security, but only what you want, you're a Republican, pal. It's just that simple. I'll give you an example. Affirmative action, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? You know how Barack Obama got into Harvard? I mean, it's either Harvard or Columbia. I forget which one. Affirmative action. His father was a student there. Yeah. All those wealthy people, essentially, they're able to go to college because their parents went to a particular college. But you don't hear anybody complain about that. But see, the Republicans don't talk about that. Another example, it's just like, immigration is terrible, blah, 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 blah. And Republicans will get out there and they'll vote. Yeah, if we catch them coming across the border, we'll put them in jail. And we'll put their kids in solitary confinement. And they will separate them. And they'll be 50 before they'll know who their parents are. Well, that's what the Republican will do. But see, let's say, we're going to make a law. If we raid this place, this factory, and we find you working here and you don't have a green card, well, guess what? We're going to get the bastard that hired you. Oh, no. We can't pass that kind of a law. See, this is why people around the world, and especially in Europe, this is what blows their mind, right? Now look, let's be honest about it. America has done some nice things, some pretty damn nice things. I mean, as I was saying earlier, all this crap with, hey, USA, US. Remember, I'll tell you something else too. I remember in the 80s, it used to be, we're number one, right? Somebody quietly changed it from we're number one to USA, USA. See, only retarded people stand up and keep repeating something like some kind of chant, right? I wonder how that happened. I wonder why that happened. But see, that's something to think about. Maybe because somebody realized, hey, maybe we shouldn't use the U.S., maybe we shouldn't use the we're number one anymore, because we're not really. And they will be right. Because if you look at the statistics, you are not number one in America. And it's time that you realize that. I mean, my God, you have more people locked up than communist China. I mean, who does that in the Western world? In a so-called free voting democracy, you have more people locked up than communist China. I mean, come on. Our problem is psychological. Because we can do anything. See, that's the good thing about America. I say we ain't number one anymore. Not because I think it's funny, but because it's sad. And I have to laugh to keep from crying, just like Abe Lincoln used to say. Because it is sad. Because the truth of the matter is, no, we are not number one. You're not number one when you can't provide health care for your people. You ain't number one when you have more people locked up on the planet than any damn body else. You are not number one when you're grown adult people don't know more than a goddamn third grader or fifth grader. No, that's not the indication of a nation that is number one. And that's the problem here. And I tell you something else, quite frankly, and I know some people might say this is being subjective, but listen, you can't be number one when you put a man like Donald Trump into what used to be the most powerful position in the world. I say used to, because after watching Trump hop around and get in Putin's lap like a little puppy dog, I'm sorry. I just don't believe that, Donald has done a lot to tarnish that we're number one crap. And as I said, America has done some stupendous things in the history of the world. You know, I look at the Civil War, and I study that a great deal, seriously. I guess I'm cracked in my head too, because I do it for pleasure. So, you know, I'm just into it, history. But you know, the Civil War was a social revolution. Probably the greatest socialist revolution in the history of the world. You broke the chains of over 4 million people. And that is a great thing. Achieved at a huge cost. But it was a great thing that America did. America fought Japanese militarism, and America helped to fight Nazism, racism, while suffering with problems here at home. it still went out and fought the people that manned the gas chambers. America did that. And that was a great thing. And we didn't, even with World War One, and some people say that that was an unnecessary war. I disagree with that because German militarism, it had to be stopped. It had to be stopped. But we have done some great things. You know, we used to try to cure poverty and cure disease. Now, under the Republicans, we punish poverty and we like to spread disease. Why would the President of the United States go around people while he knows he's contagious and spread disease? Who does that? Is that the kind of person that you want sitting up in the White House? You think it's cool, you know, you think this guy is cool because you got a problem with black folks. Some of y'all have a problem with black people. Some of y'all have a problem with Hispanics. And you say, well, hey, I like Donald because Donald don't like niggas either, right? Is that your benchmark for commander-in-chief? Oh, well, he don't like niggas and Spanish people either, so I'm down with him. Is that what you're looking forward to telling your grandkids? Oh, well, you had too many blacks on TV, and you had too many Spanish-looking women on the local channels, and I like Trump. And yes, you do, you know, you read the papers every day. You listen to some of these people. They're not shy. Oh, well, I mean, there's so many blacks, there's so many of them. And I'm like, where the hell have you been for the last 500 years? We were always here. You don't other me. How do you other me? And Latinos, right? How do you other them? They were in both of these continents before you came over here. You got a thing against immigrants? Ever hear St. Patrick's Day? You know? I know that we have, disagreements about the virtues of Christopher Columbus, but that's like a St. Patrick's Day. That's a holiday dedicated to immigration. So, you know, this business about anti-immigration, and then this other thing, oh God, stupid, insanity. The Jews shall not replace us. Well, in the first place, quite frankly, if you're dumb enough to walk around saying something like that, no one can replace you. Because if you're that damn dumb, it's going to be real hard to find someone that can be as dumb as you. So that takes care of the replacement crap. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is Jewish people were one of the earliest immigrants here. I mean, if you want to really talk about who was here, right? Spanish, poor English, and rebellious Irish. And then later on, the main wave that we're familiar with, the starving Irish. And My God, the Brits at that time, the English at that time, treated Irish people like animals. They let them starve to death. What kind of country is, what kind of crap is that? The ruling class in Ireland, the ruling class in Great Britain at that time said, yeah, let the Irish starve. It will teach them a lesson. It will teach them to be thrifty, right? Sound familiar, folks? It will teach them to be thrifty. See, this is what I mean about the Republican Party. They don't deserve to be elected to any office in this country because the Republican Party has decided that they are going to reach back 100, 200, 300 years, 400 years, 500 years to some of the worst examples of inhumanity. And that's what their party is about, right? Which is why, you tell me you're a Roman Catholic and you're a Republican? Yeah, right. Well, in America, conservatives hated Catholics, by the way. But I have some problems. I have problems with the Catholic Church. I have problems with black and Hispanics that carry the Republican banner, because I like to know what does this banner represent? Basically, that we make sure that those type of people don't come into the suburbs. Well, I'll have you know that if I'm good enough to go to Southeast Asia, if I'm good enough to go to the Middle East, then I'm good enough to float all through the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, I'm good enough to move into the suburbs. And as long as I'm a decent, well-behaved person, it's really nobody's damn business. That's America. I had to cut a little short because there's so much on this subject. I'll pick up some more. I'll pick it up more, next time. And as I see, I think I'm slowly starting to run out of time here. Folks, let me just put it to you. Our country's in trouble. And come 2024, we might not be the United States of America anymore, but it's going to be up to you. And to my white brothers and sisters, please, stop letting that party, that Republican Party, the party that basically lets you lay there and starve and die in a pandemic. Don't let those people make fools out of you. Or as we say in the hood, don't let those folks make a chump out of you, because you better than that. I have fought side by side with you, and there have been times when I have fought versus you. But we're Americans, right? This is our country. We all belong here. And it's our job to make it work. We have to stop letting people pull us apart. That's one of the things I have learned as I have gotten older. You can't do it by yourself. You really can't. And I'm kind of an agnostic, but I do believe we need some real Christianity in this country. That's my personal opinion, okay? That's how I feel in my heart. But I think that we do need some kind of real spirituality. Not what we have now, not that evangelical crap. And that's exactly what I mean. And I mean what I say. You can't talk to me about Jesus and then try to make sure that I can't have the right to vote in the society in which I live. And we need to stop that. I cut you open, you're going to bleed all over me. You cut me open, I'm going to bleed all over you. Because the same creator that made the mistake of creating me and creating you, he created the both of us. And we have to stop this. Right now, there is no Republican Party. There's a party with a bunch of right-wing nuts and a bunch of phony evangelicals, and at the top of it, a bunch of cowards. And we can't let that party drag this country down the seventh level of hell. We can't do that. We've been through too much together. And that's right, together. My greatest freedom fighters are Abraham Lincoln and a good New Yorker named John Brown. So that tells you where my head is at. Come on, folks, we can do this. We have to do this. Listen, I will see you guys next week. Same time, same place, same channel. And this is the Concerning Forum. Bless you all. Take care of each other. Peace. And I do